Point of No Return by Wildheart. Chapter 9, Ninth Adjournment. The Resistance had believed all was lost. Their leaders were gone. Their spell technically failed, and the elements were most likely gone. There had been a debate among them, and the majority had decided to turn themselves in, so the populace might be spared Queen Nyx's wrath. A few had left already, though for different reasons. They were not ready to make such a sacrifice. These deserters were spared resentment, for to once march one's own death required more than the usual amount of resolve one could expect of a pony. Okay, that's it. Everything is going to Tartarus and back. I'm calling in Lil Pip. It could be said that a coward's own actions always leads to their own downfall, besides. And that was proven when Applejack and Trixie teleported into the ritual chamber, and with them were the rest of the elements of harmony. Silver stood with mouth agape, as the ritual he was leading was completely ruined by the arrival of the ponies they all believed were dead. The designs on the stone floor let off a surge of magic that ruffled manes, as the wind blew from the room and down the hall. What? I don't... Commander! Thankfully, the others' presents were quicker to regain their presence of mind, and a cheer rang out amongst them. Rainbow Dash puffed her chest out, fluttered above the rest of the group, enjoying the looks of wonder she got from being there. Yeah, I know. I'm awesome. Don't go all crowd around me. Ah! She yelled out as Applejack tugged her back away by the tail. Why is it always the tail? The farm pony gave her a disapproving glare, and Dash shuffled her hose and coughed. Well, I do autographs too. The farm pony rolled her eyes, then called attention to herself by clearing her throat. Ahem! Silver, we ain't got much time to exploit. We're going to march on the palace. We might be outmatched and outgunned, but we got all of us together now. We're not going to lose this chance. Trixie looked about the chamber while her lover spoke, raising a brow. This was a sending ritual. What were you doing? The stallion bowed his hand. I'm sorry, but we were about to surrender ourselves to Queen Nyx. We didn't want any innocent lives to be on our account. He disrupted the ritual as apex, and it seems it went off despite being unfinished. Nightmare Moon will receive it shortly. No doubt it'll be on her way here. Rarity started with a look of horror on her face. Fluttershy bowed her head, sniffling. Rainbow Dash stumped in front of Silver, butting heads with the stallion as he growled out, Well, that's just perfect! Both the Pegasus and Unicorn jumped at the outburst, turning their eyes to her greening Pinky. Beside her, Applejack had an equally wise smile. That's what we need, Mr. Unicorn! The Resistance commander's underling only reacted with confusion. Excuse me? Applejack turned to her friends, looking as triumphant as a pony could. Nightmare Moon ain't gonna underestimate us after all the trouble we caused. She'll send a lot of soldiers out here to come fetch us all. Applejack, dear, I really do think that is a bad thing, Rarity carefully offered. This was bewildered at the farm pony's declaration. Fluttershy, however, smiled as he realized what Applejack was getting at. Nope, not in the slightest. See, when she sends that army out for us, we won't be here. And that's one less thing to worry about when we storm her castle. Get ready, everybody! We're going to need to get a new ritual together. We're going to send all of us to Bonefield as soon as we can! Silver was less enthusiastic about his plan. Commander, help her an army? That simply isn't possible without an enormous source of power. So instead, Trixie stepped forward to speak. A portal ritual will go through. The stallion liked this idea even less. It grit his teeth. Miss Trixie, a ritual will require all of those casted to stay put. We would be captured. It's all right. The Resistance members in the room constantly looked around for the source of the soft voice. Fluttershy, however, was hiding behind Rarity as he continued. They want you alive. If you surrender, you won't be hurt before we use the elements. We promise. When Silver hesitated, she slid down to view, and unsurely strode forward. Please, we have to save Equestria, and this is the only way. Silver couldn't take out his pleading eyes. He felt as though ignoring the Pegasus' request would be breaking some inviolable rule of the universe. With a decided sigh, he nodded. We are expected to be captured anyway. At least now it'll serve a purpose beyond martyrdom. He turned to the others. All who are willing to be able to perform this ritual, join me in preparing it. If for anybody else, go with the commander through the portal once we say it's safe. As for all of you, he said to the gathered elements, you don't seem to have what you need. Yeah, Applejack rubbed the back of her head with a sheepish look. About Wyatt. Oh, don't let that worry you, darling, Verity beamed as he put in. I can get those back. I simply need a distraction, and an army at the palace gates is a very good distraction indeed. Daz glanced over the unicorn, one brow raised. Yeah, about that. How does he get to be so good at picking? Oh, Rainbow Daz, let's not waste the gentleman's time when he has a ritual to perform. Now, instead of the place, I could possibly straighten out my maid while I wait. Verity beamed, her smile unconvincingly nervous. Trixie cleared her throat before Rainbow could press the subject, and nodded to the door. As he began leading the way, Rarity quickly followed suit, very grateful for the assistance. Just you wait, Rarity! I'm going to find out eventually! The weather pony called after her, even as the door slammed shut. I want you to be on your best behavior, Nyx, Twilight stated to the filly hitting her right on her back. Which is unbelievably cute! This is going to be hairy enough as it is, so I can't afford any problems. She considered hiding her daughter elsewhere, but eventually had to dismiss the idea. Twilight didn't want to think about what might happen if one of the guards or servants in the palace found the young pony and caused a ruckus. Nyx would be best off with her. Yes, Mama. Not to mention, there's no way Nyx would stay put for long. Young Alicorn was still very confused about what was going on here, but her mother had assured it would make sense soon. For her part, the mayor was very glad Nyx had been so quiet. As it was, she had problems getting past the checkpoint at the top of the stairs leading to jail. She had, quite simply, forgotten it was there due to the stress of her conversation with her friends. That was solved with an easy illusion, an invisibility spell. But she hadn't taken the time to explain that to Nyx before casting it. Twilight had talked her way out of that by assuring the guards that the surprise squeak came from a mouse that scurried by just then. There had been a small hole just above one of the steps, so they bought it. The filly was visible again now, but her mother moved quickly enough no one would get a good glimpse at the black shape on her back. When Twilight came to the door she was searching for, her heart was pounding. She hoped the shock of Queen Nyx seeing, well, herself, would help her dodge awkward questions when the unconscious guard came to. With all luck, he might have a concussion, the unicorn thought. She almost instantly berated herself for that, since she wouldn't want to wish that on anyone. After all, what if Celestia had a concussion? That would have been just awful. She raised her hoof and knocked. The response was a quiet shh, and Twilight tilted her head, but slowly opened the door. Queen Nyx had been smiling at a small lump under the blankets of her bed. She herself laying behind it, with her legs under her. Twilight was about to inquire about this shape when a loud gasp came from her back. That sudden noise, no doubt the filly Nyx, seeing her adult counterpart, drew the monarch's attention. She widened her eyes, staring. What's on Equestria? The two regarded each other with absolute shock, some degree of fear. Young Nyx saw what she had feared herself in once, and the elder was forced to face, once more, a past that she would rather just forget. Twilight felt very awkward being stuck in the middle of this. She sighed, looked at the fold from her back, and whisked her to the bed to sit next to her older counterpart. Nyx, meet yourself, I guess. I found her on the way back here. She must have found a way to come after me. Queen Nyx was too taken aback by this meeting to respond, and her younger self broke the silence. Does this make you happy? The accusation in that voice was sharp, and Twilight facepalmed. Nyx, I said to be on your best behavior. But I'm not! The foal retorted, looking to her mother before glaring up at the tall Alicorn, who was now sitting up on her haunches. Pushing herself back as if to escape the harsh look. You should be saying to yourself, didn't you learn anything with Mama? Mother? The foal looked to the source of the quiet voice. Both she and Twilight gasped The white unicorn, who rose from the blankets, wiping her left eye with a huff.
Oh, what's going on?
It was now Twilight's turn to be stunned into silence, as Queen Nyx tried to give Adasia a reassuring smile that only served to look nervous.
Nothing, Adasia. Go back to sleep.
I'm still waiting for Artasia and Sonata to come out.
I'm not tired anymore, Mother.
She replied as he looked at the two guests in the room. The young alicorn smiled as their eyes met, forgetting the lecture she was about to deliver.
Hi, I'm Nyx. What's your name?
If Adasia was shocked by the resemblance of form or name to her mother, she didn't know it. She sat and smiled and answered,
Adasia. Pleased to meet you, Nyx.
The older alicorn saw her chance and took it.
Why don't you take your new friend to your room? You may play it until you're tired again, but I don't want you to stay up for too long.
Adasia smiled and nodded, hopping off her mother's bed before waving a hoof to Philly still upon it.
Want to play with me?
Sure! Nyx led from the bed too, and the two folks tried it out together. The reader is having a heart attack! With a sigh of relief, the monarch let herself drop to the bed, flat on her stomach with legs spread out. Twilight watched as the two fillies leave with a worried expression, but turned back to her other daughter. She stood on her hind legs, bracing herself with her forelegs on the ends of the mattress, laid her own tone at the for the blankets.
So yeah, my daughter.
I'm your daughter. Queen Nyx's eyes were closed, but the lids trembled. Twilight could see tears forming in the corners. Whether that was from her other self's rebuke or Twilight's statement, the unicorn couldn't venture to say.
Yes, Nyx, you are. But you don't need me as much as she does. I still don't agree with what you've done.
Twilight said, shaking her head slowly.
But I'm proud of how strong you've become in my absence. You don't need me anymore. I don't want you to leave.
She opened her eyes, moved her head to face the unicorn. Twilight sighed, pressed her snout gently to the alicorn's much larger muzzle, in an attempt to comfort her. As Queen Nyx didn't flinch away, she counted that as a success.
It's not just her. My friends need me. I'm the element of magic. I have responsibilities to them and to Equestria.
She looked at her head a bit, and looked as stern as she could.
Just like you have responsibilities to your kingdom.
The monarch scoffed, and raised her head back again.
I am fulfilling them. Those rebels shall die. Is that for your kingdom or for your pride?
Twilight didn't mean to sound accusing, yet it hid to her daughter.
My kingdom!
The alicorn rose to her full height, spreading her wings out threateningly.
Do you think I wish my subjects to starve, to languish, to stagnate so? You're the one who made this mess in the first place!
Twilight couldn't help her anger at this point. She jumped to her forehooves, and all but pressed her face into the head of the Dark Queen's.
Your eternal night made their crust failed, and made them cold and scared, not the rebellion! The rebellion keeps them from accepting my rule.
She retorted coldly, turning her nose up a bit.
Their dissolution shall show my subjects that accepting my help is the only option. I will protect them, and cause them to prosper. What has this foolish resistance done to help them at all?
Twilight smirked, though there was no joy in it, only spite. She jerked out her saddlebags and lifted out a note.
You're right. They haven't done anything but call your righteous wrath upon them.
Almost at once, Nyx's wings folded against her sides, as he stared with wide, fearful eyes at that scrap of paper. It could only be one thing, according to Twilight's reaction to it. The alicorn's mouth dried up, as he struggled to find the words to deny everything Twilight began reading.
An order for Her Royal Majesty Queen Nyx. A battle group 100 strong are to surround the village of Halter's Way, which has been chosen for its distance from both Ponyville and Canterlot, and take into custody.
Twilight's voice cracked, her anger slowly bringing tears to her eyes.
Every stallion, mare, and foal are to be held for 2 weeks under martial law, then escorted back to Ponyville and declared resistance members, then executed unless the fugitive Applejack and all her personnel are surrendered to the mercy and justice of Queen Nyx.
The unicorn threw the paper on the floor and glared up at her daughter. Her troubled cheeks were stained a darker shade by tears, and she grit her teeth, speaking through them with a growl. How could you? That's going too far, Nyx! I can't believe you would do that! The larger alicorn shrank back, lowered herself. Watching such a large pony curl up, like a foal, under the rays of some pony so small in comparison, would have been comical, were it not for the circumstances. Nyx trembled, staring at her explanation. I would rather have a few die if it saves them many. If they had just listened to me in the first place. You can't blame this on them! Twilight stamped a hoof, thudding it onto the sheets. You made this decision, not them! Those ponies are innocent, and you know it! She panted a bit, chest heaving as she glared down at the quivering ball of black fur. Nyx had no reply, and Twilight seethed in silence for a few moments before pressing the matter. You weren't going to say anything? You won't even change your mind? Mother, She was cut off by a sharp rapping at the door. The alicorn forced herself up, trying to look perfectly natural. She bit back a sob as she called out, What is it? Spitfire's voice came from the other side of the door. Your Majesty! We just received a message about a sending ritual. The resistance has surrendered, and we know the location. What are your orders? Polly stared, dumbfounded, as Nyx's expression frightened. Wonderful! I want a battalion of troops to move that location and capture them immediately. The Pegasus hesitated a bit at that, before continuing. An entire battalion? You sure? I mean, these guys are trouble, but... Spitfire, it may be a trick. They'll expect us to underestimate them, and I've already made that mistake far too many times. Yes, an entire battalion. However, she added with a smile, I want you and my other lieutenants to remain on the palace grounds, just in case. I hope that allows you more confidence in my safety. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll get right on it. As the Pegasus trotted away from the door, Nyx beamed at her mother. See now, it didn't come to that. We won. It won't happen. Her smile instantly faded at her mother's next words. You still ordered it in the first place. An awkward silence prevailed as Queen Nyx bowed her head. As time passed, and Twilight let her anger cool, she tried to break that silence. So, you have a daughter. Nyx lifted her head slightly, regarding the lavender mare. Adasia? She was adopted. I wanted to provide for a foal, be a mother myself, not abandon her. I wanted to know what motherhood was like. That's not a good reason to become a mother. Do you just want more stones to sling at me? Despite her inner monologue, Nyx couldn't work out the will to be truly angry with the unicorn. After all, as Nyx spoke around, you're right. It isn't. I realize that. But I've been a good mother. At least, I've tried to be. I provided for her, but I didn't spoil her. I give her affection. Do you love her? Twilight looked up to the alicorn with a suspicious expression. Queen Nyx wilted from it, wondering why she couldn't at least stand up to the mare. I suppose. Mother, please. Please stop trying to hurt me like this. I'm sorry for what I've done. I really am, but I couldn't go back on it. Those orders. Twilight began, making Nyx wince once more, expecting more venom, were very interesting in how they were phrased, weren't they? I don't understand. It says specifically for resistance to surrender themselves to the mercy of Queen Nyx. Twilight reminded as he walked to the bedroom's door. I hope you remember what that word means. The alicorn shuddered, but as the door opened, something inside her started a fire. Something in her mind growled in her to grow a spine. It told her she was a goddess, not some fool to be scolded and punished. She pulled herself up and scowled. I do! And I hope they remember it well when I offer each of them a quick death instead of the slow, torturous demise they had to offer my subjects at the hands so starvation and freezing. And I hope you remember it when I remind you of how you attacked me, Twilight Sparkle, when I was at my most vulnerable. Twilight only offered the monarch a cold glare over her shoulder. You really are a monster now. She slammed the door on her way out. Nyx, Queen Nyx, mistress of the night, mare of the moon, goddess and ruler of Equestria, collapsed on her bed and wept. Chapter 10, 10th Judgment, Part 1. The elements and Trixie took some time to themselves before the oncoming assault. This had two purposes. The first was that they would need to give the approaching troops time to mobilize, leave, and move far enough from the palace so they couldn't simply converge back onto it as soon as the word of attack came. The second was because they needed to formulate an actual plan of attack. It takes some time to rest. The threat of impending execution is, after all, not exactly easy on the psyche. None of them were eager to go back just yet. Rarity used this time to help Applejack go over the plans. He used what little supplies there was to make the others in their awkward circle of friends more presentable. Trixie had surprised all but Applejack when she insisted there was no time to pretty herself up. Rarity pointed out she had the time.
Darling, you don't have to prove to us you're no longer the vain braggart that came to our humble little town and all, but destroyed it.
Rarity ignored the mumbled response from Trixie. That was entirely not her fault, continued.
By all means, take this time to relax. I'll only become dirty again, Trixie rebutted. After all, we are heading into battle.
Feeling to put it out, Rarity pouted, seeing herself next to Fluttershy, pretending to be fussy over the Pegasus mane. When Applejack finally thought the plan was up to snuff, thanks to Rarity's attention to detail, which Applejack had learned to value so many years ago, she cleared her throat to call for her friend's attention. Okay, y'all, listen up! Let's get this show on the road! She pointed with her as best she could, but that was woefully inadequate.
Pinky offered a toothbrush.
The former accepted it with a nod of thanks.
Horse apples! I wish I had one of those pointed things right now!
That brought up a few giggles, making Applejack smile a bit, but soon returned to business. Going through the front gate again would be suicide. The Earth Pony pointed to it, and the marks representing the soldiers with the toothbrush. From what we saw from our first attempt, there's at least one platoon of soldiers regarding that gate, and a section of Pegasi patrolling the area. Yeah, Deus?
Rainbow Dash put her hoof down and asked,
How many? At least 10 of them.
I could take them on.
Rainbow Dash puffed out her chest with a fierce look in her eyes. All of them! Applejack chuckled. Yeah, of course you could, Sugar Cube, but we need to stay away from them. After all, we can't afford to draw too much attention to ourselves going in. We'll have all of them on us. Besides, there's got to be more than one of them after our little mistake. Rainbow Dash deflated a bit, glared at the ground, mumbling,
But I could totally take them on if I did.
Trixie smirked, then had an idea. Leaning to Applejack, she whispered something, causing the orange mare to pause and frown. I don't like it, but you're right about that. Fine, Dash. I want you to take those Pegasus and fly out of the sky. Dash brightened up immensely, but Applejack cut her off before she could let out a whoop. It needs to be a surprise attack. Those are trained soldiers, not drunks you scrap with in a pub. Besides that, you're going to have to fight them at a high altitude, because there's got to be rangers watching their backs. Trust me, you don't want to tangle with them, or their arrows, or their pikes for that matter. Dash did a salute, and then settled down again. The Fluttershy didn't quite like the idea.
But that's dangerous. She could be badly hurt. Why would you want her to do this?
Rarity gave Fluttershy a comforting nuzzle and explained,
I think I know why, but let's allow Applejack to continue. I'm quite sure she'll explain herself.
Thank you, Rares. Last time we had the element of surprise, and I'm sure the guard has his act together by now. Applejack explained to the others, but there's another way in. The map she had spread out in front of her showed Ponyville and the surrounding area, including the gem mines nearby. And it was that gem mine the farm pony was now focusing on, with that damnable toothbrush. Sparksley, y'all explain this one. I like to clear on the details. Trixie nodded and took said toothbrush with her magic, moving it along a path.
These gem mines are very open and exposed. However, that said, though there's no places for us to hide, that is the same for the Rangers. They cannot ambush us there, and this path is far too far from the tree line for them to accurately fire on us. So, only real worry are the ground troop patrols in the Pegasi. We can and have protected the patrol patterns of the ground troops, so we can avoid them.
The unicorn looked at the rainbow dash.
But Spitfire is a great deal more intelligent than Wildheart, who is in command of said ground troops. She's ordered her Pegasi sections to take a more complicated, erratic patrol scheme. We won't be able to avoid their notice at all. Taking out even one section will increase our chances of sneaking in threefold.
The Pegasus grinned and thumped her chest with her full hoof. You can count on me! Guess that means I gotta go in first?
Yes. How far can you see?
Pretty darn! Trixie couldn't help but smile at the familiar bravado.
Well, in that case, please scout a bit. Then pick a target based on how many times it covers the airspace above the mine, and take it out. Rejoin us afterwards. So, why are we even going through those mines? I mean, I don't really care about the dirt or anything, but how's it going to work?
Pinky leaned in towards the map very closely. A scary Fluttershy rarity's view of it, but the protest went ignored. Trixie smacked her forehead lightly with a hoof and groaned.
Oh, of course. Yes, it slipped my mind. There's a side entrance to the palace for the gem mine. The palace was constructed underground, then raised via Nightmare Moon's magic. It still has a few connections from the underground, however, like this out here.
The pale blue unicorn tapped the spot with a brush.
It connects to the boiler room and a storehouse. It's a weakness, and the door is normally not tight. But there's usually only 2 soldiers guarding the door at any one time. We can take them out quietly and... We aren't going to kill anybody, are we?
Fluttershy suddenly leapt up, her expression horrified at the very idea of it. Trixie wilted a bit and took a deep breath.
If we have no choice, just assume, unless it's absolutely impossible to avoid, that we intend to incapacitate, not kill.
The former ranger didn't seem satisfied by that, but she settled down again, looking troubled.
Now then, Applejack?
Yeah. Now, this won't be the only thing we'll be doing. To increase our chances of getting in, we'll have a second group. This one's a battalion of volunteers for surrounding villages, and some of our own ponies here. As Applejack spoke, Trixie adjusted the brush to point out towards the rear of the palace. They'll be hitting the rear gate. They'll have to pass through the Everfree Forest to do this. And, well, there's probably a buck-tailed rangers in that area. It's going to be rough for them, but it's all we got.
Fluttershy already had trepidations about possibly killing some of their opponents. But to willingly send what could be their only a suicide mission... No! Fluttershy was stared at by the other ponies as they jumped. You can't do this, Applejack. Those ponies will die. Maybe all of them.
I'm sorry, Sugar Cube, but they already agreed to it, and they did so knowing what they were getting into. Are you going to tell them that they can't fight for their homes? They'll do it anyway if we cancel this part of the plan.
Then...
Fluttershy clenched her eyes shut. Her body shuddered momentarily in fear, but she took a deep breath. In a voice that was barely more than a whisper, yet filled with determination, the Pegasus demanded,
Then let me go with them. I'll save as many as I can.
And the team is, of course, going to consist of Carrot Top, Raindrops, Cheerilee, Lyra, Ditsy, Octavia, Blossom Forth, and Orange Sherbet. And Honeydew. All 5 of the other ponies protested at once, in a cacophony of voices, all of them saying the same thing. Fluttershy! You can't be serious! We can't lose ya!
Even if you want our friend, the elements need ya to work right!
Fluttershy was not going to buzz on the matter.
I may be an element, but remember what element that is. I won't leave them to die. And if you're really my friends, you'll help me.
Applejack stayed silent, while the rest of them continued to try and talk the normally demure Pegasus out of this. She turned it over her mind, this way and that, considering. She couldn't force Fluttershy to stop, and she could only help her, and so she did. Everybody, shut your traps! With the silence that provided, she continued. Rarity, you and me are going to go with Fluttershy.
What? Are you insane?
I'm thinking pretty darn straight, thank you very much. Applejack snapped.
glaring fiercely at Rarity while she continued. I'm pretty good at handling rough terrain, and that group will probably have a better chance of survival with me leading it. You need to come, because freezers are pretty bad at hoof-to-hoof combat. Get close enough so they can't use their bows, and you got them already. That's why they ambush you, and I bet you can see an ambush coming a mile away.
But the forest, it's so dank, so dirty, so wild,
Rarity whined. Applejack rolled her eyes. Rarity, don't do this now. Not now, please. The white unicorn gave a longing look at her own man and sighed.
Fine, for Villagicide's sake, I will assist you.
You'll sacrifice so much for our sakes, Rares. Applejack wasn't used to using sarcasm, but at this point, it was completely mirrored in her eyes. So that leaves our Lee, Trixie, and Punky to go to the side entrance. Lee, Rares, and Fluttershy are going to go get our battalion to do a hit-and-run attack on the rear gate. Draw attention there. Away from y'all. Leslie, you slip in. Trixie had one comment about the plan.
Then, Applejack, how are you and your team going to enter the palace? You'll be fighting a losing battle, and even if you do manage to win, you'll have half an army at your backs as you enter.
Won't be all that bad, Trixie. Once we get in, we can get our ponies to use the gate as a choke point. Then we'll join up with you.
And what about the front gate? What's to stop them from entering and attacking you from behind?
I don't think about that. Applejack removed her hat and rubbed the back of her head with a forehoof. I guess we could double around the castle and attack the front. They can't send older guys in. They have to guard the front with something.
Waste of resources and energy, Trixie scoffed. You won't make it, especially not when you'd have the casualties for taking the rear gate.
It's all we got, Trixie. All we can do at that point is help, okay? We'll hold the rear gate. I'll use it as a choke point. If we close the gate, they won't be able to come from behind us. Then we can focus on reinforcements coming in from the front. That's the best we got here. Or maybe we can figure something better out when we get there, being that we don't know the palace too well. Pinky beamed and pulled the other 5 ponies into a sudden big hug.
Don't worry! I'll call them out fine. I got a great feeling about it. So, when do we leave?
Pinky's eternal optimism was cheering and loosened some of the tension of the room. At least, it stopped the argument there. Lee, Rarity, and Fluttershy are going to leave in 3 hours. Lass, you're going to leave 30 minutes after. You got 10 minutes to scout before we send Trixie and Pinky through. Gotta have enough time to destroy evidence of the portal rituals. Applejack couldn't help but return the hug, and their friends followed soon after. So we got until then. All of you, do what you want. This is our final stand, and she looked a bit solemn, slipping out of Pinky's grasp. The lighter Earth Pony let go of everyone else, with her own serious expression. Some of us might not survive this. I won't lie. So, well, leave it up, I guess. See? Final assault on the enemy stronghold. Only this time it's the other way around. Gigantic attacking force. Trixie's involved. This is so past tense version of Night Never Ended. All we need now is Rainbow Dashes to capture the Shadow Bolts and we'd be fine.
Honey,
Pinky cried out, her serious expression gone entirely, replaced by a wide grin.
The biggest, bestest party I've ever thrown, and every party's invited. Well, except for Queen Meanie and her groupies, but who really wants that anyway?
See, hop off and get ready. Yeah, well, I'm gonna get ready. Got lots of preparing to do. Was cut off by a light blue aurora. It fell over her and Trixie. Started dragging her out of the room. Dash whistled after them, making Fluttershy blush and Rarity to bring her off a muzzle covering it.
Oh my, well, I suppose we better go after Pinky.
And so, the party began. And more ways than one. Woo! The skies above the palace were tense. Aside from checking in with command, finally the enchanted bracers they wore, the Pegasi section was completely quiet. The recent attack on the palace had everyone on edge, and the escape by the prisoners only made it worse. They expected another attack any time now. Most of the soldiers were specifically on edge, after Her Majesty had ordered a battalion sent away. The palace had never been more vulnerable, and the Air Force watched the ground thoroughly, but they made one crystal mistake. They didn't check the skies above them. That was their undoing. When the silent Pegasus struck from the clouds over them, they reacted with admirable speed. Lesser, slower adversary would have been quickly taken out by the cooperative efforts of the highly trained Pegasus squad. Rainbow Dash was neither lesser nor slower. On her first flyby, she planted her forehooves on the side of one of the soldiers, trying to move out of her way. In a rush of air, following behind the element of loyalty, knocked 5 more off kilter and sent them tumbling. 1 down, 5 helpless. 4 left to chase after her. They cut up Rainbow fairly quickly, but that was just what the Pegasus wanted. She turned her body upwards and spread her wings out wide before giving them a powerful flap. The 4 passed by her harmlessly. Grabbing the tail of the lead Pegasus, she forced him to a rough stop, then swung him in a wide circle, letting go, sending him into the group of 5 she sent tumbling just seconds before, knocking them aside like bowling pins. 7 down, 3 to go. These 3 prudently decided to make a break for it and to call in. Dash was having none of that. She zoomed after him, demonstrating her legendary speed. And a quick kick of the hind leg and passing the collar bracer. She slowed herself, spun horizontally, and gave that same Pegasus a buck with both legs. Dash knocked the mare out cold and turned her on the other 2. Really terrified of the polychromatic demon, they wisely surrendered. Unfortunately for them, the aspiring Wonderbolt was not looking to take prisoners, and both of them got a forehoof to the face. 10 down. The whole thing took only 30 seconds, giving Dash plenty of time to call the soldiers, prop them upside in the cloud above, and to get to scouting. Feeling very proud of herself, as usual, the Rainbow Pegasus mentally checked her internal clock. 5 more minutes. 3 more sections of Pegasi. Plenty of time. Completely throwing caution, and her orders only to take 1 group out to the wind, Dash broke through the cloud barrier. What? Actually, I'm sorry. Followed the quest of your flashbacks. Started looking for the target. She had no idea she was being followed now. At the other end of the palace and on the ground, 303 ponies were trekking through the Everfree, warily watching out for the myriad of dangers under its leaves. They had to remain quiet as possible. It was very hard for such a large group. That was why they had to split up into groups of 100, with one of the elements each there to guide them. It was still quite unwieldy, but for most of the ponies, being a simple militia gathered from several villages, they simply couldn't split the battalion up any further, not without proper leadership. Of those 3 groups, Rarity's was most likely the safest. They had carried several beasts, and the White Unicorn had either avoided them entirely, or defeated them with no deaths or even casualties. Though prescient at first to such sturdy conditions, Rarity had shown remarkable ferocity in attacking hostile wildlife, as much as her soldiers had to marvel at the bravery, or foolhardiness of their commander for charging a wild griffin, bucking him right in the face. They could only keep her casual minutes. She had once done so to a manticore as well. Wait. Did Rarity apologize to the griffin? Why did they have a griffin on their team? When did Nyx get griffins? Why had there been no mention of Nyx having griffins? What was that poor guy doing in the Everfree? Was he having a picnic? Was he lost? Was he mad at them for walking up on him? What was going on with that griffin? That poor fellow. I feel kind of bad for him. That poor griffin was doing who knows what, and Rarity just saw him walking around, got mad, and bucked him right in the face. What was that griffin doing? I don't think a 1 griffin guy is going to take on 100 ponies. I mean, what was he doing? Just passing by a few beers? He must have burped at her face. That's the only possible explanation. Their good fortune couldn't have lasted, however. Rarity stopped her group just in time to avoid facing a hail of arrows. Well, maybe if you did punch a random griffin in the face! That poor guy! But they were facing a steep ravine on the one side, and a line of rangers wielding bows on the other. There was no recourse. Charge! Get them close, and then help us! 100 ponies charged. The rangers responded in return,
losing another flurry. Few ponies fell, but Rarity tried to ignore them, shut them out for the sake of her own sanity. You know what would have been a really nice help, Rarity? A griffin! Rarity's horn glowed as she knocked down the arrows off course with her magic, assisting as best she could in this situation. A few rangers had been knocked flat by the charge, but most of them taking a tactical retreat.
This is a trap. They'll just string us along, riddling our numbers until we're all dead. But if we move on, they'll hound us the entire way. Oh, what to do?
While she considered, she missed an arrow. Whizzing sound next to her right ended in a wet thunk, and the pony faltered. He was yellow, and he had a violet mane. She had been watching him. He was young and sweet. He had helped several times of his fellows over obstacles, passed up a few cousins' scrapes from their escapades to this point, and, in general, had been nothing but helpful and considerate. He reminded her of Fluttershy in more ways than one. His name was Rhymy, and now he's dead. I hope you people are happy. Now he stumbled, eyes wide in pain and fear. His forelegs buckled as he fell forward. His chest was awash with blood, and it was very clear something vital had been run through. Rarity stared shocked, not moving at all. It had been so easy to ignore the others dying, but he had been right next to her. She seen his face, and couldn't help but stare down at him as he shook on the ground, gasping for air. Each gasp took in less and less, as she couldn't stop watching. The ground under her hooves shifted, weakened by the thunderous charge, and that shook her out of it. She had no idea what to do, but she lifted the colt onto her back. She had to get away from the edge of the ravine, had to save the stallion. But it was too late. The ground gave out as he spilled over the edge with a scream, the colt on her back falling with her. "This is what you get for punching a random griffin who was just minding his own business! No, he was just walking around, then you decked him for some odd reason!" Applejack was not happy. "Neither am I! You guys are punching random griffins! What's next? You're going to see a minotaur? You're going to kick him in the nads?" Several times she noticed something out of the corner of her eye, and as soon as she turned her head, there was nothing there. She grumbled to herself, growing paranoid. "Listen up! You boys keep moving! You got maps and compasses! You can find your own way! I'll need to take care of something." One of the mares looked at her incredulously.
Come on now. We can't just leave you here. What is some kind of threat? We'll assist you, but please, don't make us leave you here.
Applejack knew who was following them. The mare was right. She'd be better off sticking to them, helping her fight. Even he couldn't beat them all. Some headstrong part of her yelled, "Buck that! He's your fat!" laying in this. The farm mare, however, fought that part of her down and shook her head. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what came over me. Keep your eyes peeled! I think we've got some point following us. The trees ain't safe. Keep an eye on them, especially. While the mares and stallions in her group had to wonder if she was going crazy. They knew better than to question their leader at this point. The more faithful ones reasoned, however, that if Applejack was something weird was going on, then there was something weird going on. So they watched the trees, very suspiciously at that. Unfortunately, the attack didn't come from them. It came from the vines, and considering the fact that I'm a fan of Evil Dead, coming from the vines is even worse. They lashed out by the 100, striking, gripping onto the ponies of the group, forcing them down or throwing them about. Applejack had the wind knocked out of her as she slanted to the ground, then jerked back into the air. She wasn't about to have a repeat of that. She wrapped her forelobes around a sturdy rock and rammed her hind legs against it, cutting the vine that held her. Casting her eyes about wildly, she looked for the source. All around her, ponies were being battered. Flashes of so many colors, but mostly green, blocked her vision of what she had to see. Against her better judgment, she took a running leap onto a thick tree branch. It started to shut down on her. "Horse apples! Listen up, all of you! If you can get somebody else free, do it! Help each other! The helmet look for!" The branch bent down and snapped up, suddenly, throwing her into the air. Even then, her eyes scanned. Orange, green, light brown, green, red, green, purple. There! She twisted herself in the air, knowing relief that some of her group had listened and were getting free. Landing on her hooves, she charged at the shock of purple among the dark forests. "Let's sail this tall, dark, and ugly!" Trixie and Pinky came through the portal that was on the edge of the gem mine. Pinky looked all around, including under Trixie, causing her unicorn to give her companion a dirty look.
What exactly are you doing? Looking for Daisy, the strange pony replied. She's supposed to be here, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Trixie cast a worried look over the sky and saw a griffin who was holding his poor beak broken, trying to figure out what he did to insult Rarity.
You're never gonna let that down, are you?
No, I'm not! Pinky followed her gaze, then pointed a little hoof, pointing Trixie close suddenly with one foreleg.
There she is!
She was gesturing to the quick-moving shape, descending into a group of unknowing Pegasi. Trixie cursed.
She's supposed to only take one of them down. This is far too risky. Oh, come on. It's Daisy. She can do it. Why doesn't she head on in? She'll catch up.
Trixie wanted to argue. He had some feelings he'd get nowhere with this Earth Pony. And she really didn't want to stay in the open either.
Fine, let's go. But we're not moving any further into the palace until she meets up with us.
Pinky noted her assent at that, distracted by watching Rainbow Dash tussle with her newest victims as they walked along. So when Trixie stopped dead as they came to the door they were to use, Pinky bowled her over, and he rolled in front of an armored figure. It was Gilda. See, that griffin that Rarity punched was actually her boyfriend, and now she's a little ticked off.
Oh, Buck.
Hey, Spike was using a toothpick to get gem shards out from beneath his fangs as he guarded the door. I figured you girls would be coming this way. You know, if we really wanted an opponent for Rarity to hit, and say she kicked something random, why not a random Hydra? Or some other mythical beast? Or say it was a small group of, or it was a Griffin mercenary. That was all. We figured you girls be coming this way. Pinky gave a nervous chuckle as he stared up at Spike. Trixie was trying to wiggle out from under the pink Earth Pony, to no real success.
Can't you let us through, Spiky? I promise we'll be good.
No. He drew his sword from the sheath on his armor's belt, and sealed out from behind him. Yeah, let's go with no. Why don't we do it the easy way, pigs? Pointing the sword down at her, the tall dragon grinned. Just walk away. I'll take Trixie with me, and I forget I ever saw you. Pinky jumped off Trixie.
Finally,
thought the unicorn, and grimaced, holding herself in a position similar to an angry cat.
Nookie Dookie Lucky, I'm not gonna let you hurt her. Nancy is kind of a jerk. Thank you, I think.
Trixie groaned as she rose to her host and made herself ready.
But I insist that you go, Pinky. The elements don't need me. They need the Twilight. It's the least I can do to let you get to her.
Hey, I'm right here. I'm not letting you get through that door. Give me some credit. Spike complained. He quickly sat downwards, but Trixie wasn't there. The sword passed her an illusion, and the real Trixie, who was standing behind Spike, blasted the door off his hinges with a burst of magic. Hey! His tail grabbed her and threw her back away from the door. But Pinkie Pie gave the opening she needed. The pink pony darted through the door and paused behind the threshold, giving Trixie a worried look. Light Blue Unicorn was struggling to her feet, unhurt and dizzy.
I'm fine,
Trixie exclaimed, shaking her head clear, just in time to duck under a white cut.
Get going! I swear I'll meet you inside.
Pinky was cut off as the door, surrounded by a blue aura, resettled on its hinges and locked. The element of laughter was stuck inside this palace. The poor Griffin returned to Griffinstone, beaten, unsure why that white unicorn bucked him in the face. But for whatever reason, he decided to go home and apologize to the missus. He lived a very, very happy life. And so thus ends the story of George the Griffin.